Hail the tribe of the internet. I am Mortis, and this is Dicentra, a horror gothic visual novel, and that's about everything I know about it, but we are going to check it out. This game contains content and themes on death, loss, grief, violence, animal death, imprisonment, flashing imaginary. Yeah. Just the usual. Thank you. Thank you. My breath comes out in puffy clouds as I limp through the rain. Oh yeah, if I'm correct, our main character is a wolf, I think, but we are going to pretend that we are a cat, okay? It blurs my vision, forcing me to feel my way through the forest with wind crashing against me from all sides. I've never been much for prayer, but would it be too late to start now? I feel like digging my claws into anything that might make me feel less alone right now. Then again, what god would hear someone like me out? I fumble over tangles of roots and slip over wet moss. My bones instantly shudder from the cold shock that shoots up my arms as my nails grab onto a nearby rock. The cuts all over my body starts to sting again, and a pathetic whine escapes my throat. My grandma would have a riot if she could see me now. I can hear her snide remark already. See what happens when you don't listen to me? As if I wouldn't survive long enough to hear the real deal. I sniffle in frustration and try to shake the feeling away with the rain dripping down my face. She's always right, of course. For just a moment, I thought I had finally gotten what I wanted so badly, earned all on my own, in spite of how it was always placed out of my reach. It was almost worth the consequences that came after. Lost in thought, I lose control of my limbs. I'm not used to controlling them all at once, and it's enough to throw me back into the slick earth. My eyes begin to burn. The ice of the rain and the pain that drags along my body suddenly overwhelm me. The storm above is harsh, and the thick canopy of trees above me does little to shield me from its rage. Instead, the trees passively turn their leaves away. If I had the guts, I would throw my grandma's most colorful curses at them. Grandma was a toughie! But I don't. I force myself to take a deep breath. I shakily lift myself from the ground, trying too hard to ignore the bite of pain that comes from my arm. For the middle of summer, it pours hard. The rain comes down like shards of ice against my skin, like it falls with the intent to hurt. In the puddle in front of me, I watch it disturb the reflection with ripples. In the brief moments where the reflection almost settles, I see piercing yellow eyes, dark fur. Puppy! Look at us go! Pretty puppy! Oh, baby! And weirded ears, sleek and clinging to the small vulnerable form of a wolf pup. We're a puppy, Loki, oh my god. Okay, forget everything, we are not pretending to be a cat. I thought it was a grown-up wolf, but look at him, tiny puppy. Oh! The voice of my grandma hisses in my mind. What have you done, Basil? Oh, our name is Basil. I need to get back home. Do you have a home? I tear away from the puddle and trek on. Please, something lead me back home. Something, anything. Oh, we got roses. Roses are our name. After making my wish, I wonder if it's a wise thing to ask this forest for a favor. Maybe my weariness is starting to play tricks on my mind. Because I swear, something answers. It's so faint that I question if it's even real. A hole cuts through the wind, or perhaps it's the wind that shrinks away from the sound that ambles through. Fighting my way through the storm has left my body exhausted. My mind might be neglecting its responsibility to remember what reason is. All my instincts scream to ignore it, but my heart, stupidly curious thing, makes me take a step forward. And remember, curiosity killed the cat, but it can also kill a pup. Oh, you can't see the puppy from the cat. Looky! That's his little icon, a puppy icon. There you have it. My fuzzy ears pick up the heavy sound of my heart pounding. I try to convince myself it's because of fear. I need to focus on where the howling coming from. Oh. Also prepare for a lot of tea breaks because my throat is still not perfect. As I get closer to the sound, it begins to resemble crying. The storm also seems starts to mysteriously retract its claws. Is it the forest showing mercy, or has it submitted to something more formidable? I've lived in the woods my whole life. I should know better than anyone to never get too comfortable. A red light perforates the dark atmosphere. I swallow harshly. There is a mansion in the middle of the woods. Ew! From a distance it would look abandoned if not for the hazy red light coming from the rooftop. For me it looks like the sky is red. I don't know about you, but I squint. Is that a greenhouse? A shadowy figure moves quickly behind its clear walls, startling me. I duck into the tall and neglected grass that grows in the mansion's yard. After a short while, I peek through the blades. The shadow is gone. Did I imagine it? I release a nervous sigh and observe the grounds for any sign of life or death. It was a bad idea to come here, a terrible one even. I can't stay here. I retreat back into the shadows of the forest, keeping the mansion in my light of sight. The moment I feel bold enough to turn my back against it, a powerful gale slams into me. I tumble back hard, skidding across the ground and into the tall grass with a cry. It takes me a moment to recover from my swirling vision. My wounds scream at me and I wonder how much further I can even go in this state. I grit my teeth and get back on my feet, keeping my weight off my arm as I make for the forest again. Again, I'm denied entrance by the mysterious force. Panic starts to seep through my bones. Hopelessness might actually be a more welcomed feeling than the tightness that now constricts around my heart. I stare at the trees as though they will suddenly start playing nice, but beings as ancient as them do not bend to anyone's will but their own. The wind gives one more shove. It insists I move forward. I bare my obsolete fangs and at it to disguise the hurt. I now know that my choices were nothing but illusions. I face the mansion once again. It's clear that something or someone from the inside is inviting me in. With no other choice, I creep along the worn brick walls of the mansion and try to find a way in. Go to a window, cellar door, or somewhere else. Where is somewhere else? A faint knocking grabs my attention. A pat to the back of the mansion and my saving grace comes in the form of a door left slightly ajar. Aha! I nudge my nose into the tight gap and relief washes over me when it parts. An ear-piercing screech echoes through the mansion as the door's hinges begin to shift. From the looks of it, they haven't moved for a long time. The feeling of ice floods my veins. I stay frozen in the doorway. If the mansion is occupied, there is no way I didn't just announce my entrance. Fear takes over again. My backpaw intuitively steps back so I can attempt to run as far away from this place as I can. The sound of a thunder explodes behind me. I feel my body take on a life of its own, and as I throw myself into the mansion against my will. The door slams on my way in. No, we're trapped. I breathe shallowly. When I come to my senses, I'm in a kitchen. Kitchen is a good place, right? It's dark inside the house. The only source of light comes from a windows above the counters. Everything beyond its reach is a void. I see a kitchen table and crawl towards it, scratching my nails along the musty wood flooring in a rush to get beneath it. I stay under the table as my breathing starts returning to a normal pace. My eyes are wide and my ears are perked up, on the lookout for anything that could be a threat. The only sounds I pick up are the heavy drums of rain from outside and the occasional creak of the mansion walls breathing in the night air. And we reached our first tea break just 10 minutes in. Just a minute. It is still very hot and it's plum, vanilla and cinnamon flavor, just so you know. When I'm confident that there is no sign of life inside this manor, I crawl back into the open and immediately shake off as much rain and mud as I can. I let myself celebrate the minor luxury of finally escaping the mows of the weather, but I don't let my nerves calm down just yet. As soon as my eyes adjust better to the dark, I take the time to study my surroundings more. I notice a hearth that lacks any recent maintenance. Dishes crowd the countertops, and the thick layer of dust forces me to smother a sneeze. This place hasn't been occupied in a long time. Surely I can allow myself to breathe just a little bit easier in this place, at least until the storm wanes. I bring in a deep inhale, being careful not to get any dust off my sensitive nose, and tread cautiously. Can I hide the thing? Oh, I can hide the thingy! Looky! Why are there candles on the floor? Are those for me? As I sneak further in, I hold my breath at every corner, carefully looking in all directions for danger. The rest of the mansion is as devoid of life as the kitchen. Most of the rooms here have closed doors. The ones I could see were graciously empty, except for the derelict furnishings within. Barely anything is in decent shape. I couldn't guess how long it's been since a human lived in this manor, but based on the scratched hardwood floors and the broken but intricate-looking side table nested in a dark corner, I have the impression that this place was neglected even while it was occupied. My nails step on the floor as I limp into the hallway, my mind finally settling from all the adrenaline. The ache in my front leg starts to swell, and the heat of my body intensifies the pain. What happened to our leggy? I try to admire the paintings lined the walls from end to end, but it's hard to see them in the dark. Through glimpses of light, I could make out some faded landscapes, a few mountains, some castles, and a couple of portraits. One portrait in particular catches my eye. I stop in front of it. I stare at the portrait, foolishly thinking that it's staring right back. The rising heat in my body must be making me see things. Do we have a fever? As I observe the side profile of a pale woman, I notice that she's eerily the most realistic painting I've seen so far. When she turns her head to look down at my tiny form, every hair on my body goes stiff. Yes, Miss Painting Lady, please stop it. Her lovely features captured in oil begin to melt off as she steps out from the painting. Excuse me? Hi. Lady, I'm sorry for intruding your home. Smooth ivory skin shrivels to a deathly pallor. The elaborate gown clinging to her sharp shoulders begins to rot as her torso parts open like a blooming rose. Excuse me, rose? Revealing decaying bone and organs that run down the skirt like horrific decor. Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. I immediately start running away as fast as I physically can. As I scramble to get away on my hurt leg, I hear something that might be worse than a ghost. The woody and spicy scent of incense fills the humid air, creating a hazy purple fog. The sound of chains moving in a controlled rhythm rattles me to the marrow in my bones. Footsteps follow shortly after, growing louder alongside the clinking chains. It's coming from the staircase. My breath quickens. I slide to a halt and backtrack away from the sounds. I look behind me and see the glowing apparition of the woman hunched from stumbling towards me, dragging a trail of gore with a wet squatch. Ewy. Hide, I need to hide. But where? My eyes dart across every inch of the hallway, desperately searching for a small sanctuary. The footsteps are right behind me. The ghost is right in front of me. This hallway now feels like a tomb. All of the doors are firmly shut. I press against the wall, my heart skipping a beat when I notice a faint tapping sound coming from behind me. I turn around and witness the outline of a door revealing itself. I waste no time shoving my muzzle between the crack to wrench it open. What is just happening? As soon as I pried the door open, I hurl myself through and back into the darkness. I walk backwards away from the door, keeping my eyes on it. I'm so focused on the door that I bump into something cold and almost trip over it. I look up and see a dark iron staircase curling up to a high ceiling. Oh, the greenhouse! A hatch near the top is open, letting the rain from outside drip down onto the cold metal. Is it the greenhouse? I hear footsteps once again, this time much louder. I don't dare to breathe or move. Oh, we are scared, puppy. Oh my fucking god! Excuse me? What? There you are. Yes, I'm definitely here. The voice startles me into moving. No way was I about to stick around and find out what fate awaits me. Every fiber of my being is ringing with danger as I climb the stairs with only adrenaline instructing my limbs. I drag myself up the iron steps until I'm bursting onto the roof and back into the storm. Oh my god, what? Oh, this game wastes no time. A fog of fright muddles my mind. I see the greenhouse I had spotted earlier and sprint towards it as fast as I can. I search for a small space to crawl into, tripping over a mess of vines along the way. Thunder and lightning roar above me. A bright flash of white blinds me. I can feel my clothes scratch against the wet tiles. A door slams shut in the distance, causing a rippling effect in the walls and reaching the rooftop. When the rippling stops, everything goes quiet. The energy of the manor shifts completely. A jolt of lightning from the storm makes my first stand. It charges the air and saturates it with the smell of ozone. I shake the rain from my face. The whole world has fallen silent, except for the sound of a chilling drip. Basil! I freeze. My eyes carefully follow the coil of dead roots on the grey floor of the greenhouse. I follow its trail all the way to the blood dripping. The blood? Excuse me, the blood! The blood dripping onto the dirty tiles and the pale feet beside it. Sure, yes, sure. My eyes climb the mysterious figure. I don't think I'll ever forget the sight before me for as short as I live. Okay. Lightning flashes brightly through the tall windows. Looming rose bushes creep along them. White roses speckle across its dark leaves like stars in the night sky. Ooh! The roses bleeding, or is it your blood? The bright flowers begin to bleed red before my very eyes. Okay, the flowers bleeding. Okay. At the rose bush's crimson-soaked center, a small girl stands with her back towards me. That's not her back. Blood drips from tiny bite marks all over her hand. A red flower bulb is crushed between her delicate fingers. Why are we hurting the flowers? What is happening? Look at us. Look at us. Bebe. Instead of a strong floral scent, the smell of burning paper and wilting lilacs floods my senses. A whine unwillingly crawls up my throat and cuts through the silence. Time resumes once again. The girl turns. Her gaze pierces right through me. The bulb drops from her hand. She doesn't say a word. Her attention is mine, whether I want it or not. Black dots begin to appear in the corners of my vision. Are we about to faint? The last thing I see is her walking towards me. Have we fainted? Before everything fades to black. Come on. You can't faint in a situation like that. My fever is brutal through the night. Yes, we have a fever. I slip in and out of consciousness to flames beneath my skin and an ache I would rather sleep off than face. I try to make my body go back to sleep, but rough hands force my jaw open and I feel something shoved down my throat. Please tell me it's medicine. The intrusion makes me violently resist, but I'm far too weak to fend the intruder away. The dark takes me into its arms once again. Was that medicine? I wake to the tang of rusty metal and humid air. The unfamiliar sensation makes my eyes snap open. Beyond the small cage that holds me is dark and damp. I clench my jaw as I examine my surroundings. Soon my eyes fixate on the ghost staring at me from outside my metal prison. Are you a ghost, lady? Are you a ghost? I yelp and throw my body backwards, hitting the back of the cage. Are you a ghost, though? I don't think you're a ghost. I expect a bite of hard metal on my back, but something smooth bends around my shape instead. It hisses at me in response. I don't think it liked that very much. My claws scrape the cold floor of the cage as I spin. The bars behind me morph into slithering vipers in defensive stances, each one baring their fangs in anger. What? Excuse me, what the fuck is happening? The ghost! You are the ghost? Careful. Their venom will make the blood in your body solidify in seconds. That wouldn't be a very pleasant way to die. I look at the ghost in horror. I am. I'm breathing so quickly that I'm convinced I will die from lack of oxygen, or so I think. The vipers settle back into metal bars and I make myself small. I don't want to risk testing their patience again. The ghost is not a ghost, but a girl. Yeah, you see? Her hair looks like ink that's been violently knocked over and spilled onto the floor. It melts into the dark surroundings, contrasting her grey, sickly-looking skin. Well, she may be a girl, but I don't think she's, like a normal human. Her expression is blank. I see her hands tightly clutching her white gown. Do you bite? Do you? I reveal my teeth through a snarl and watch as she shows hers with a small smile. Oh, I love it. The fur along my spine stands up. She starts to move and I flinch. The girl crawls towards the cage and I curl my nails. She reaches for me, a pale hand passing between the bars without resistance. It freezes right in front of my snout. Is she checking to see if I would really bite? I think she does, yes. Has she no fear, offering her hand so fearlessly in the presence of a beast? You're not a beast, you're a puppy. I may only be a pup, but the sheer force of my jaws can pierce right through her palm. No! You're a puppy! I pull my face away from her hand and see her startled from my peripheral vision. She pulls her hand back and holds it against her collar. My eyes lock with hers as she stares at me with her lips pressed together. I think she expected me to bite her. Do you want me to bite you? It will be hard for me to protect you if you are too scaredy cat to do as I say. Do you mean? My eyes snap back to the girl. I watch as she... that wasn't a question if I will bite. That was an order. I watch as she stands up and wipes her hand on her dress, not showing a single care for how dirty it's become. If you want to survive, you will have to listen to my instructions, okay, doggy? She tilts her head like she expects me to respond. Don't try to be too brave. I just wasn't. I just didn't bite you. That's not too brave. You can only survive this place if you are smart. The others had too much fight in them. It made them foolish. What others? Other dogs or other humans? My heart pounds in my chest from her words alone. She gives me another haunting smile. When your arm is better, I will take you for a walk before he gets back. Who is he? Ooh, the guy with the guy that we encountered right in front of the staircase had like a skull, like a doggy skull, a wolf skull maybe, on his head. That's the guy? Is this what she sounds like when she's excited? It's unsettling. She suddenly moves closer to the cage again. I jump and back away, just enough to not risk getting into trouble with the vipers again. The scent of burning parchments and wilting lilacs return. The girl's hair falls off her shoulders. I expect ink to trickle down and dye her dress a black. My name is Dove. Hello, I'm Basil. Horrible to meet you, Dove. No, she's fine. Ooh, Rosie's first chapter. Ooh. I spent the night nursing the dregs of my fever. When I'd first woken up, I didn't take notice of how much of it really been soothed, but no vague memories of violating hands surface in my thoughts. Did the girl, Dove, give me some kind of medicine during the height of my fever? I think she did. My body still feels uncomfortably warm. I rest my head on one arm and glance at the one that had been hurt earlier. But what hurt it? Who hurt you? A clean bandage is firmly wrapped around it, not enough to cut off the blood flow, but enough to restrict its movement. Was this also Dove's handiwork? I sigh softly through my nose, then close my eyes. Time passes ambiguously in the cage, with nothing to reference. I don't know if it's been mere hours or days. A bowl of water sits in the corner of my cage. I know from the dryness of my throat that I need to hydrate, but I have yet to muster up the courage to approach the bars. Yeah, that slither and rattle every so often. Yes. When I'm desperate enough to finally quench my thirst, the bars relievingly give their metal forms. Oh, relievingly, yes. Feeling better now, I curl into a ball and my tail cradles my face. I want to go home. Poor baby. Exhaustion catches up to me once again. I fall asleep on crusty metal and wake on dusty wood. The sound of wind chimes alerts me into consciousness. My eyes snap open and my retinas are immediately burned by the color that floods into them. Ooh, looky! Oh, this is our color. And then we have a food bowl and water. Little drawings on the walls. Is this Dove's room? Also, I'm sorry, but tea break. I just can't, my throat. Maybe I dreamed it all in a feverish haze. I check on the gauze around my arms. It's still there. I weight around my neck brings me... But I weight around my neck... Oh, a weight around my neck brings me back into focus. I can read. A collar is secured around my throat. Attached to it is a long and heavy chain that leads to the leg of a large wardrobe in the corner of the room. The bedroom? This is our collar? It's not even our neck. I take in my latest cage. There are no longer venomous bars to keep me, but the state of confinement has not changed. My eyes move from the rainbows on the floor to the line of the chain restraining me, then to the rest of the room. I look at the windows and find swirling murals and expressive paintings of various creatures and monsters. The sun behind them illuminates the floor with speckles of color like a stained glass window. Past the frame of the window, the drawings continue in nonsensical scrawls. Oh, so they're expanding. Okay. Less art decorates the walls, but shelves with cracked plant pots and hanging tangles of ivy take their place. Dirty cups and bowls sit forgotten in a dark corner. I briefly note 2 shallow dishes near where I lay. They look like they would be used by a pet. That is I, the pet! Judging from the surprising lack of grime from under them, it hasn't been that long since they were last used. Dusty books and crumpled parchments litter the floorboard. Wait, you said it wasn't... Wait, So someone has already used them, that wasn't us, and that someone is already dead. Did this girl kill your whole family? Taking up half of the room is a canopied bed. Dark curtains are pulled tightly together, preventing me from seeing inside. Oh, here? It is here? The sound of scratching captures my attention. I drag my gaze past a pile of books. There, sitting on a raggedy blanket, hunched over and scribbling over the print in a book, is Dove. Hi! She gnaws on her lip and pinches her brows. I can hear her whispering something to herself. No, no, no! That won't work! I slowly lift myself off the floor, cringing at the sound of clanking chains following my movement. Dove makes no move, acknowledging my presence, so I continue approaching her. When I'm closer to her back, I'm able to get a better look at what she is furiously writing. Scribbles of awkward symbols make the words on the pages completely illegible. I swallow a lump in my throat. Are we trying to summon someone? The collar around my neck feels very heavy right now. Dove suddenly tears a page out from the book. The jarring sound makes me jump, and I slam into a tower of books, sending it toppling to the floor. Dread weighs heavily on me. I look back at Dove. She's now staring at me with wide eyes. Hello? You're awake? I am. I release a small yelp and stare at her dumbfounded. She's brighter. Yeah, she's smiling. She pretty. Or maybe it's the luminous light filtering through the bedroom window. Something about it paints her in a rose-tinted lens that makes my weariness away. Oh, I mean Weaver. That's fine. That feeling instantly vanishes when she gets up and rushes towards me. I run away as fast as my legs allow me, but my air supply is abruptly cut off and I'm thrown off my feet. A sharp howl is pulled from my throat. I look behind me and see that the chain of my collar is pulled taut. I had reached its limit. I then see Dove standing in the spot I had bought it from. Her gaze creeps along the chain, making its way to my crumpled form. Icy blue eyes stare into mine and I shudder. I feel like she could unravel me through sight alone. She looks at me like she knows. Then she perks up, snapping the tension away. Alright, you're probably starving. The others were also very skittish when they had empty bellies. So you are the one, collecting, kidnapping, and possibly killing the wolves in the area? That's why I'm an infant? Just asking, no offense or anything. Her voice trails off as though she's become lost in thought. She starts weaving through the mess of book piles to reach the bedroom door. Or the others weren't pets. They weren't wolves or dogs or anything. They were actual people. And she kept them the same way she keeps me. I can see you do that. Wait here. Okie dokie. I don't have much of a choice. Dove returns with a bread roll and a bowl. She sets the bowl down a couple of feet in front of me and retreats back to chew on her own food. I tentatively approach it. What's in it? The bread smells like heaven. I lick my lips on instinct. It must have been ages since I last ate because I watch her tear chunks from it and mark every little crumb falling onto her white dress with yearning. I don't want what's in the bowl. I want your food, please. Why am I recording a visual novel when I can barely speak? That is a very good question that I do not know the answer for. Yeah. I look down at the bowl she left for me. The sight of red fleshy chunks greets me. What kind of red fleshy chunks? Is it human flesh? Is it? Raw meat? Yeah, but what kind of raw meat? Human? Is it human? She gave me a bowl of raw meat. What are you? You are a wolf. You eat raw meat all the time. I can't eat this. What are you? Are we not? Wait a fucking second. Are we not a wolf? Like, are we actually not a wolf? We are oh, it was full moon. Maybe we are werewolves? Because if I would be a wolf, I would eat raw meat, like, hunt animals, that is raw meat. But if I'm a werewolf, Pop, or, well, maybe I could, but the idea of it has nausea coursing through me. I stare at the fresh blood pooling at the bottom of the bowl. Then I glance over at the bread. Then back down to the bowl, feeling conflicted. My stomach growls. I can feel saliva start to drip down the side of my mouth. I can't do it. Are you gonna let it go to waste? I'm suspicious that I am not actually a wolf, lady. I don't think I am. Could you give me bread, please? Oh, hi. Dove's voice comes from right above me and fear flutters in my stomach. Okay then. My eyes snap up. Dove reaches for me and I flinch, scattering away. She kneels in front of the bowl and dips her hand into it, crushing a fistful of squishy red meat between her fingers. She brings the raw meat to her mouth. Excuse me, lady. I watch her eat it. Sure. Why not? Yeah. Bile rises in my throat as I watch her chew through the raw flesh and swallow it with a sickly gulp. She covers her mouth with the back of her hand and gags that looks... Ew, you are trying to... Ew, that's gross. Birds do that. Birds do the thing. Do I look like a fucking bird? She smiles at me, her teeth stained in a glistening red. What a horrible taste it is. You don't want me to eat what you just puked out, do you? Please don't. A thin stream of blood falls from the corner of her mouth. I suppose you would like something a little more appetizing. Yes, please. Why did you chew it? And spit it out if you didn't want me to eat it. You tested it. You thought it was good. What is happening? She gags again, then runs out of the room. What were you expecting? It was raw meat, probably human. I hear the sound of her retching from another room. Oh, my poor girl. Dove returns with a new bowl of what looks like stew. You had stew all along, and the only thing you were eating was bread, and you give me some random raw meat. Really? Why don't start with the stew? I inspect it thoroughly, checking for insects or anything inedible. You are very picky, you know that, Basil? Insects or anything inedible, try to just halfly act like you're an actual wolf, okay? When I surmise that there is nothing of the sort, I dig in greedily. My eyes begin to sting after the first few bites. The stew is so bland. It makes me yearn for my grandma's cooking so badly. Oh, you are such a whining little boy. Be how do you say, thankful. Words. Be thankful that you've got... Okay, she treated you like your fever. She treated your wound on your leg. She gave you food. And wasn't even angry when you refused the first, meal. So, yeah, just be glad, From the corner of my eye, I can see Dove watching me like a hawk. Like a single blink is enough to make me vanish. If only I could. As I finish eating the stew, a soft thudding captures my attention. Is she petting me? I look back to see my tail wagging against the floor. Yay! I feel myself shrink with embarrassment. I immediately seize its movement, but not before Dove takes notice. Looks like your energy has returned. Her eyes move to my arm. Does it still hurt? I stare at Dove, then hesitantly put my weight on my wrapped up arm. The sharp pain is mostly gone, but the dull ache still remains. If the opportunity for me to run away came, I could probably do it, but not without difficulty. Oh, I make a frustrated whine. Duff tilts her head to me, considering my reply. She approaches me again, slowly this time. I hold my breath as she comes close, her hands hovering near the collar around my neck. I'm suddenly hyper-aware of how quiet it is. There is no drum of rain or crack of thunder to be heard from outside. Hope dares to grow inside my racing heart. Will you hurt me if I take it off? No. I answer her how? I shake my head slightly. Oh, so she knows that I can communicate like I understand her? Dove gives me a curious look. Her hands hover for a short moment, then she nods. The weight of the collar lifts off my shoulders. Then I bolt. My swift escape shoves Dove aside. Ew. I barely see her get thrown to the floor as I make for the open bedroom door. Dove makes a panicked noise behind me. Oh no, she's crying. Look at her, she's crying. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Sorry, you were so nice to me. You were the only thing in this house that didn't want it to kill me, probably. But honestly, they really didn't give any chance to the others, so we can't quite know that they wanted to hurt us. But still, I'm sorry. It fades out in my rush to leave her behind. Why are you like this? Why are we like this? Because we are a dog. Because we are a dog. A cat would never do this. Then I'm back into the hallway where the horrors began. Don't you think that's a bad idea? I need to go back to the kitchen, but the door closed behind you. I sprint to the stairs. Then suddenly, I'm skidding to a stop and a wall meets me at the end of the hall instead of the staircase. I stare in confusion. Did I go the wrong way? I look around the hall. I don't remember seeing this many doors. A sinking feeling unravels in my gut. I got lost. I ran down a new hallway. Well, who is the dumb puppy now? Then turn into another. Then another. My exploration of the manor was cut short when I first arrived, so maybe I can't remember everything well enough. I don't think you can remember anything. I'm sure I wouldn't remember anything. But I swear, these are not the same halls I walked through before. It's a magic mansion. After I turn into hallway number 15 in this new labyrinth, the sound of something being dragged cuts off my thoughts. Yes? I look behind me, fear pulsing in my veins. A ghostly figure slowly walks down the cross-section of another hall. Hello, how are you? And what's up with your... Oh, it's a skeleton. It's just a skeleton with a lot of hair-like things. Long hair protrudes from its head, running down to the floor stiffly like straw, and hiding most of its long, thin limbs. So are you not a skeleton? You're just very skinny? I watch it disappear around the corner, completely frozen in my spot. Another ghost. I've never seen one this corrupted before. I now feel extremely... Why? Have we seen ghosts before? I need a bit of a background info, please. What do you mean you haven't been any like this corrupted before? Have you seen less corrupted ghosts? What are you, a werewolf? Ghostbuster? What is happening? I now feel extremely vulnerable, like a beacon standing in the long and open corridor. A tapping noise is next. My heart pounds violently in my chest as I search for the sound. I immediately see another ghost heading straight for me. I yelp and crush myself against the wall as if it will make me invisible, but it worked the first times. Ew! What are you? What? These are... Oh, these are the ends of your hands, so it's like bending like this. Oh, I see. This ghost staggers towards me with bony knees knocking together. The thin veil curtains its upper body, and something that resembles a bird's beak peeks out at its chest. Its chest. Is it the chest? Where it... Oh, Wait, what? I thought this was the head. Watch! The closer it gets, the better I'm able to make out the details of its leathery skin and the beady bloodshot eyes that dapple across its face above the rotting beak. But then this is the beak, right? And these are the eyes. Needle-thin arms bend sharply at the elbow and reach back behind the ghost's head. Yes, these are the arms. It balances on its elbow and pulls itself forward on them. I make myself paper-thin and shiver when part of its elbow brushes against one of my paws. Why didn't you move away? I start breathing again when it passes quietly, then back away into an intersection of hallways. Okay, stop. You are a dog. You can use your nose to find your way back to the girl, right? You remember her smell, right? Just follow it. Another ghost almost tramples me. Two ghosts follow one another down the path of the bird-like ghost. Okay. So we have many arms and many mushrooms, maybe? One is a cluster of what looks like a fungi and twisting fabric that melts into bumpy flesh. A stringy network of mycelium trails behind it. The other creates a sound of glass crunching together with every steady step it takes. Oh, and the face is broken. You are like a doll, a porcelain doll. Its arms stick out like pieces of wood that slightly swings as it walks. And where its face should be is a void, framed by jagged, broken pieces of porcelain skin. Yes. I can still make out the raggedly made uniform that clings to its bloated form. So are you all cursed or something? I follow the ghost in a trance, and the little girl is a witch that cursed them, and now she lives with them as a family. And she wants a pet as well. Like a line of school children, they walk along a well-known path. Normally, when a ghost is corrupted from being trapped in the land of the living, every semblance of their humanity is lost. And what traps them here? What makes them not being able to move on, you know? So where do these ghosts stalk to with so much purpose? And why do you care? Didn't you want it to leave the mansion, little pup? They navigate the hallways without hesitation, twisting and turning through a route already well known. Then so painfully easy, I have been led back to the... Sorry. I have been led back to the kitchen. Oh, because they are going to eat you, little puppy. I see Dove standing on the kitchen table, delicately twisting an incandescent bulb into the hanging light fixture. Oh my god, words. Dried black tears stain her cheek, but her expression betrays no sign of dejection. I'm so sorry. Another bulb is held loosely in her other hand. This one has been burnt out so badly that no light can penetrate its ashy blackened surface. It took 40 years to develop this type of filament. The ghosts surround her. Are we witnessing the magic of light? I watch them reach for her and I open my jaws to bark out a warning, but I choke on my rising panic. Dove doesn't notice them and continues to screw in the bulb. I think she knows very well. I read that these bulbs can stay lit up for 1,200 hours? Oh, I thought years. I thought that's gonna be years. Clothes brush against her skirt. And yet, after less than a week, their legacy of lighting the dark has been snubbed out forever. With one last turn of her wrist, light envelops the room. Something so wonderful. Dove stares into the bulb's light and her fingers caress the glass. You're gonna get blind. Oh, only breaks in a place like this. Oh, but look at them go! Oh, pretty! The art style, I love the art style. The ghosts have vanished! Dove gives no hint of awareness for the presence that had just left them. My blood thuds in my ears. Could she not see them? I'm sure she did. I look at the door that I had used to enter the mansion. I hear Dove dust off her hands and toss the old bulb into a box, where it shatters amongst other pieces of glass. She sighs wearily. How long will this cycle continue for? Of replacing bulbs? I barely hear her words. Instead, I stare at the wall where the back door should be, and there is no door. I immediately freak out. I run to the wall, ignoring the ache of my arm, and scratch at old wallpaper, hoping the door was only hidden behind it. My claws tear through wood, but as I continue scratching, the outline of a door does not reveal itself. I back away, staring at the shredded decoration and breathing rapidly. It's not there anymore. I turn my head up and see Dove sitting on the kitchen table, swinging her legs. She stares at the wall I had torn up and gives me a blank expression. I explode! My body ignites with fiery rage as I growl and snarl at her. Why? What did she ever do to you? Oh, did you hear that? Our tiny puppy bark. It was so cute. She frowns and her eyes turn downcast with guilt. Oh, I don't know how to get it back. Okay, but why is it gone? No, I bark louder. What about it? Look at her face, I love it. Dove covers her ears and glares at me. Doing that will solve nothing, but I'm angry. There is nothing else I can do. Yeah. I whimper and go back to scratch the door more in desperation. I'm sorry. That's fine. It wasn't your doing, was it? Enough. I'm tired of seeing you wallow in your despair. I reply with an indignant huff. I see Dove puff her cheeks in annoyance. I turn my head away and rest it on my paws. There is no way out. It's better for you to just accept it. A growl rumbles in my throat. Even the front door is gone, so instead of wasting time, you may as well follow me and keep yourself occupied. But there was a door when I came in. If you want to leave, why haven't you just left then? I wish I could cry. You can't cry, you're a puppy. My ears lay flat against my skull. I've landed myself right in the mouth of a carnivorous flower with the sweetness of shelter to lure me in. I should have noticed the sharp teeth at the entrance. Yeah. I take a peek at Dove. She's like a caged bird in this house. Doesn't she hate it? How can anyone possibly live like this? Her patience reaches its end and she slides off the kitchen table. I cry out when she holds me off the ground and bare my fangs at her when her face appears right before mine. My glare doesn't faze her. Follow, wolf. I'm a puppy. There is much to do. We return to the labyrinth of hallways. Dove seems to know her way around them well. Now that I'm not frantically running through them, I notice a huge difference in the manor's atmosphere. Less dirt coats the floor, ceiling lights illuminate the hallways, and it almost feels peaceful. Dove stops by a closet in the hallway. She grabs onto the handles of the doors, and it opens up to reveal shelves and cupboards of miscellaneous tools and supplies. Maybe. She climbs a stool to reach the highest shelf and retrieves a box with small buckets and brushes. We're gonna paint! I tense up at the sight of the stool beginning to sway back and forth. She climbs back down without issue before leading me into a room I recognize very quickly. Ooh! How do we recognize it? I've never been here, but there are a lot of candles. And mirrors! Those are all mirrors? She makes her way to the broken side table I'd spotted when I was first exploring the rooms of the mansion, and I take the time to look around. A dining table with only 3 chairs takes up most of the room. Candles spike up from the top like oh my god, these words. Stalagmites? There is so many that I think they would render a fire hazard if they were to all be lit. Hardened wax drips over the edge. I can see the end of a fountain pen, as well as scraps of paper. I'm unable to see a well of ink from my position, but I assume that that is what runs down the dusty tablecloth in dark splotches. Or blood. A glint catches my attention. On the other side of the room, I'm unsettled by the mirrors that cover the wall from floor to ceiling. Yeah, those are mirrors. I swallow a lump that forms in my throat and do not let my eyes linger on them. I lay on the floor and watch her slather strongly scented glue on the broken leg of the table. Oh, we are not painting? She roughly connects the broken leg to the rest of the table and fans it with her hand so it dries faster. Oh. She tests its sturdiness with a light finger, then scrunches her nose when it wobbles. She twists around and digs in her box, then pulls out a roll of twine with a bright expression on her face. My brows furrow together. Dove twirls the string around the leg and binds it tightly. When she's done, she sets the table straight again. It still rocks unsteadily, but it stays standing. Oh, that table! I was looking at the wrong table. Oh, that seems to be good enough for Dove because she picks up her box again and gives it a nod. And something just crashed. I leap from my spot on the floor and spin to a loud noise. In the corner of the room, the long-haired ghost from earlier stands bent over a broken vase. Hello. I flinch when Dove lets out a startled noise and start to stride towards it. I bark in alarm. It's dangerous. She ignores me. Ziri! Huh? I told you! She can see them alright. I grab the back of her gown with my teeth to stop her. Dove's demeanor goes from angry to taken back. She stops and looks down at me. I shock myself with my own actions and quickly drop her skirt. Dove considers me for a moment, then switches her attention back to the ghost and marches over to him. You klutz! My jaw dropped. I don't need another person to clean up after. The ghost laces its long fingers together and bows its head. When Dove gets closer to it, she stumbles and cries out, "Aww!" The ghost snaps its head back up to her. Dove checks the bottom of her foot and sees a sharp embedded in the flesh. No! No! No fucking no! Red blooms from the small wound? No! Oh, gross! No! Story. I once in my life managed to step into a needle, and it was the worst fucking experience of my life. I don't want to step into anything ever again. Never ever. No. It's just the worst. The ghost makes a groaning sound and steps towards Dove. She hisses when it walks through the mess of the glass and drags it with them. It's concerned for her. I'm telling you, they are family. I observe their interaction, feeling befuddled. Everything I know about corrupted ghosts is being challenged. What do you know about corrupted ghosts? You are a fucking puppy! I pause to think about how the ghost rushed to her side earlier. The ghost tugs on Dove's sleeves like it's asking for forgiveness. She continues to badger it while digging the shard out of her foot. I study them curiously. It wasn't because they wanted to cause her harm. I trail behind Dove when she leaves to treat the small cat and when she returns to clean up the mess. We leave the ghost and Dove continues down whatever to-do list she has in her mind. While she paints over the scratches on the kitchen door trying to match the old wallpaper, she speaks to me. Have you met all of them already? She doesn't speak again until we run into another ghost. I suspect I met them all, yes. It waits in the hallway for Dove. She perks up when she sees what it's holding. Mushrooms. It's holding mushrooms. Oh, thank you, Babel. Babel. I have no idea. We are gonna pronounce it in the Hungarian way, so it is Babel, okay? She takes a small bundle of red roses from it, freshly torn from its bush. Where did you get the flowers if you can't leave the house? It's from the greenhouse, right? You are stealing from the greenhouse. These are the bleeding roses. That would be apparently a very sick rock band name. The Bleeding Roses. I follow her to a window and see a tall, thin glass vase with withered roses in it sitting on the sill. Dove takes out the dead flowers and replaces them. Then she pauses and looks down at something below. Her face reveals nothing as she tears her gaze away and makes her way down the hole again. Before following her, I stand on my haunches and try to peer out the window. A chill comes down on me when I look down and see a small patch of graves, each marked by a small wooden cross. Those are your previous puppies? I break away from the unnerving sight and turn towards the hole where Dove had gone down. She stands at the end of the hole waiting for me. The bird-like ghost's name is Grell, and the doll-like ghost's name is Odette. Dove introduces them officially when we run into them as we go around the manor doing mundane tasks. So, you told me the others died because they wasn't smart enough? But then I shouldn't be afraid of the ghosts, right? Because you are just going around introducing me to them. So, who is the one I should outsmart exactly? It's a sight I can't get used to. I can't understand how a young girl can act so normal around so monstrous beings because she's a fucking witch. Seeing their translucent, leathery skin or the fluids that drip from their decaying flesh is enough to send me reeling. But she does not flinch or fear. Earlier, when they had surrounded her in the kitchen, she could tell they were there, weaving their arms together to wrap her in a ghostly embrace, and she didn't care in the slightest. I start to think she is more disturbing than the ghosts. To become this corrupted, they would have had to stay trapped in this plane for a long time. But what trapped them? The guy with the puppy skull? Why are they still here? Their horrific forms border on pitiful. To be this far gone, it has to be some type of hell. Dove walks amongst them like they are her family, though. I'm telling you. No, that's not quite it. I rearrange my thoughts. Maybe the image of the graves flashes in my mind. It's because she is theirs. What? She is what? What do you mean she is theirs? I watch her guide Grell's gangly limbs out of the hallway so they can pass through, like they are nothing but an annoying sibling. Maybe because they are a monster, just like them. Oh, I see. Maybe this cage she lives in is of her own making. I'm telling you, she's a witch. Dove does these errands like a routine, putting books away in the library and cleaning up candles burned to the end of their wicks. By the time she finishes winding up a large grandfather clock in the hallway, the manor feels like a completely different place. The air is less stifled by dust particles, the rooms are brighter, and it feels like a home now. As we walk back to Dove's room, the sun begins its descent into the blazing orange horizon, and the evening cicadas make their shrill voices heard. Despite the manor feeling more livable, there is a feeling it gives me that I cannot shake. A void that looms like a presence. It's like letters left unfinished, or tea half empty and turning cold. That's the worst kind of tea. There is this sense of stagnation that places this manor outside of time's reach, and it leaves a noise that buzzes persistently in the air. Dove stops abruptly, and I almost trip over my paws trying not to run into her. I take a peek from behind her and immediately let out a yelp. Oh, hi, lady, I assume you are nice as well? The very first ghost I had met stands at the end of the hallway. Dove doesn't move. I see the ghost stagger down the hall towards us, and I instinctively back away. Then Dove speaks. It's okay. Her tone is not very convincing. The ghost gets closer and I can see the details of her leaking entrails. You are right, I can see them alright. Yep. I make a whimpering sound and hide behind Dove, keeping myself close to the wall. That's a lie, I'm not hiding behind her. She's harmless. She doesn't do anything. I throw a quick glance at Dove and her voice falters. But watch. The ghost is right beside us. Ew, you're stalker. Oh, stop it. Stop. I don't want to check out your heart. Its hollow eyes look down at Dove and she holds its unseeing gaze with cold eyes. I don't breathe, but the acrid smell of rot overruns my heightened sense of smell. The tension between Dove and the ghost creates a pressure that thins the air, making my lungs ache for oxygen. Pain seizes my chest, just when I can no longer hold my breath in. The ghost continues down the hall passively. Okay, so it's like a T-Rex. It only sees you when you move. I exhale loudly. I startle when Dove clenches her fist beside me. Her eyes follow the ghost for a couple of seconds longer, then she cuts off her stare and moves on. I quickly chase after her, not wanting to be alone with this particular ghost again. Ever again, if my luck allows it. I look back for a split second and the ghost has disappeared. Oh, back in the room! Dove's shoulders are squared as we return to her room. Since the sun has set in the opposite direction of her window, the scattering of colors from this morning is long gone. Her relationship with the hallway ghost is much different from the others. Yeah, the way she spoke about her almost seemed resentful because that's her mama? This your mother? I pet to a corner, stalling for a moment when I see the color from earlier on the floor. I narrow my eyes at it and pick it up with my teeth, then I throw it at the far wall. I'm throwing a tantrum right now. I give the color one last glare, then curl up on the floor. Dove settles cross-legged in the middle of her book towers and reaches for a random text. I let out a big yawn, feeling heavy after the events of the day. I don't know if there is enough time in the world to process everything that happened to me since I left home. Why did you left? I close my eyes and feel the tendrils of sleep curl around me. Do you think people can come back from the dead? Well, I mean ghosts count? Or you mean zombies? Or like actual resurrection? Could you be a bit more exact with your questioning? She asks it so quietly I almost don't hear her. I don't think she expects an answer. And I cannot give her one. Dove's roses! Wait, the first was roses and the second chapter is Dove's roses? Why are they bleeding? I wince at the bites. What bites? What are you talking about? The roses are extra hungry today. After not feeding them for a while, their petals have bleached to a stark white. I watch as my blood saturates the colorless flowers, then narrow my eyes when I spot a parasitic fungi at the base of the bush. Part of the bush is already starting to wither because of it. I reach down and tear it out harshly. Dirt sprays my gown and I crush the fungi in my fist. I know more will sprout in its place, but seeing such a blight this close to the rose bush makes a bolt of anger rise in me. Are you trying to resurrect your family? Also look at the stars. Just seeing it makes me want to destroy it. I walk to a different section of the greenhouse and throw it right next to the corpse of the fungi's latest victim. My heart clenches at the sight. Its eyes are still open. What do you mean? I press my fingers down on the lids of the dead wolf, but it's too late! The terror on its face is already cemented in time. What are you doing with wolves? What's happening with wolves? Why the wolves? My fingers curl and my nails stab into my palm, making the bite sting. I return to the rose bush and continue feeding them. Thunder and lightning crash above me. Oh, wait, stop it! This is your perspective of the story? Like, this is when we first met? Will it lure in another pitiful soul tonight? Excuse me? I hear a door slam and I flinch, crushing a bulb in my hand. My ears listen intently, searching for lingering traces of his presence. When I find none, I take a deep breath and finally let myself relax. I tear the bulb from its stem and my hands fall to my sides. The sound of the rain is so clear now as I close my eyes to let it wash out everything else. I relish in its violence against the roof of the greenhouse and tremble under the crisp cracks of thunder. To pass the time, now that it is mine again, I whisper something my mother taught me under my breath. Then I hear a whimper come from behind me. The sun. Oh, yeah, that was when we first met. Death returns. I look up from my view of worn book spines and see Dove. She sits in a creaky wooden chair with her knees drawn up beneath her chin. She brushes pale fingers across the rough paper of a large tome sitting open on the desk in front of her. The desk looks like it's made of dark wood with deep grooves and jagged swords that have been carved by something sharp. It sits tucked away in the back of a small library in the mansion. Large bookshelves loom around us like trees in a dark forest. The narrow arched window above the desk and dripping candles are the only things that light up this dark and decrepit space. I didn't know the mansion had such an intimidating space like this until we had wandered in earlier. This itinerary did not include any of those peculiar chores. Instead, she spent the time wandering around the manor with a notebook and a stick of charcoal. I follow her as she roams aimlessly through the walls, weaving in and out of different rooms. As she continues wandering, body and mind seemingly detached, I carefully inspect every inch of the manor, desperate for a sign that proves this house can be cracked open, allowing me to finally return home. You can always just jump out the window, you know that, right? At some point, she stops wandering to sit and curl up at the foot of a decorative stone bust. When I look past her darkly smudged hands, I catch glimpses of a page portraying the same bust over and over again. I don't think it's possible for her to draw that quickly in such a short amount of time. I wonder if she has her subject memorized by now, considering how familiar she is with it. I mean, she's probably been here for a long time, right? Dove seems to be drawn to art. Her sketchbook joins her throughout all her tiny efforts to kill time in this house that she cannot leave. I begin to think that the professional paintings lining the hallways have some influence on this creative side of her. Perhaps she is inspired by someone close to her, or maybe she is just intensely curious. I do wonder, what happened to her family for her to end up in such a bizarre state? My thoughts trace back to my arrival at the mansion. There is someone who has yet to reappear, and I strongly hope that I'm gone long before he makes his appearance again. Yeah, the skull guy. Dove surprises me when she walks into a new room during our walk. I cautiously follow her in, and the room reveals itself to be a... I'm sorry again. We could save, by the way, if we are here, yes? I cautiously follow her in, and the room reveals itself to be a library, full of grit and darkness. I can see dust particles floating silently in the small beam of light that filters into the room. It tickles my nose and makes me sneeze, throwing me forward into a roll until I land on my back with a view of the spiderweb-infested ceiling. Oh no! Dove pays no attention to my fumble and carries on to the back of the room until she reaches a stack of books. I shake my head to recover, ears flopping against my skull, and follow her the rest of the way in. As I delve further into the room, I quietly observe the floor to ceiling rows of bookshelves. All of them seem to vary in width and are arranged in a pattern that seems maze-like. Books stand in tall piles and scattered around the floor like they've been thrown around carelessly. My ear gives a small twitch at the sound of one hitting the floor, and I turn my gaze to Dove. She silently slips into a chair with a book in hand. I see her focusing intensely on reading after settling into the desk, and I slump to the floor. Today's humidity has followed me like a blanket I can't push off. It's so thick it feels like I keep walking into a wall of heat. Dove doesn't seem as bothered by it, but she is not the one covered in fur, yeah. I start panting loud enough to draw Dove's attention away from her book. She glances over and wrinkles her brows at me. What's wrong with you? I tilt my head in confusion. Her eyes rake over me inquisitively, then they brighten. She hops out of her chair. I start to stand so I can follow her, but she's already speeding out of the room. Stay here! My ears flatten anxiously, but I slide back down to the floor. It's too hot to move anyways, I guess. Dove soon returns carrying something in her hands, and I go on edge. Please don't have raw meat again. My body tenses when she sets a bowl in front of me, then I immediately relax again. Oh, water! I give Dove a quick side-eye. Her attention is already settling back into her book. After drinking a belly full of water, I plop down on my side, feeling much more refreshed. I blink blearily after a noise disrupts my brief midday nap. Did Dove just say something? I flinch and tilt my gaze up after Dove slams the cover of her book shut. She lets out a large sigh and throws her arms straight out over the desk with her head bowed between them. She then turns her head towards me. Have you ever seen a witch? I think you are one. My ears perk up. Why did she ask that? Dove is clearly not a witch herself, as far as I've been able to tell at least. How do you know you're a puppy? I can't imagine what kind of witch would want to spend their time meticulously drawing the same thing over and over again. And Dove feels within my reach. No witch can make me feel that way. How many witches have you encountered before, Mr. Puppy? However, the possibility for her to have any relation to a witch is increasingly tangible, I don't know. Only magic can explain the things this mansion is, brimming with. I can't find comfort in a place like this, but avoiding a run-in with a witch has been a blessing considering the obvious traces of fun. If only I could ask Dove for answers. The more I learn about this place, the more questions I have. It's so frustrating not being able to speak. I startled from the sound of a book dropping right in front of me. The book Dove had been leafing through now sits before me, open to a random section. I can't help but let my gaze flicker down to it. My eyes widen as I take in the contents of the page before me. Strange symbols and cursive writing fill every inch of the old parchment. I stand and draw closer to see better. Curious thing, aren't you? I look up and see Dove facing me in her chair, observing me with her head resting on her palm. I freeze under her stare. My eyes dart to the book again. You know that has 100% mortality rate with cats? You mean curiosity? Because I do know that, thank you. I tip my nose up at her. Good thing I'm not a cat. I am, though. Dove narrows her eyes. The corner of her lip twitches. She unravels her curled limbs and stands from her seat. From there, she drags her bare feet across the floor until she reaches the open book, kneeling down and flattening her palms over its pages. Well, I suppose there is more to the cat's story than people think. I can only catch a quick glimpse of the rough circle carved into the hard leather of the cover before Dove grabs it and flips it closed. She then opens it again to the first few pages with undelicate hands. I read the words at the top of the page. Death returns! Alright. Dove traces her fingers over the words. Satisfaction brings it back. Death? Satisfaction brings back death? I feel my tail wagging at the base of my spine as I look back up to Dove. Would you like to learn about magic? Ooh, I can be a magic puppy, hell yeah! It's not just something anyone can do. My yellow eyes meet her blue ones. Magic! Nothing has ever haunted me more. And now, like a candle has been lit at the bottom of an abyss, I can finally search for what I've always yearned. I nod. Yes. The moment I give my answer, something about Dove changes. Like hot embers fanned in the wind, her pale eyes glow in the dim light. I feel my heart thumping in my chest. Her mouth stretches wide, I can see the points of her canines and her gums are black. Dove rarely smiles, even more so with teeth. I hold back a shudder. This time I know for sure that my heart does not race in fear. Dove looks directly into my inhuman eyes. Yeah, I don't like that face. A malevolent grin creeps across her face. In that moment, I knew she could see her fiery eyes reflected in mine. My eyes walk across the first page, my chest blooming with excitement. Are you not scared of her? Look at her. She's... Hey, no. A book about magic. Yes, but look at Dove, please. I've never been able to read one before. They were all removed before I could get the chance. Everything you could ever want to know about magic is written in this book. It's the witch Bible after all. You are a witch, I knew it. My mouth goes dry. For a moment I imagine myself elsewhere. What do you mean? You have such... your panic attacks. Yeah, Okay, fine. I'm back with my grandmother sitting on the carpet by the fireplace and having my burning questions dismissed once again. Your birth brought you freedom, Basil. One day you will understand that. I can only smother my disappointment with a short reply. No matter how many times I asked for an explanation, she would always deflect or ignore my prodding. So I stopped asking and started searching for my own answers. I see nothing special about myself. But I could be. I slowly look up at Dove. She stares deeply into my eyes before looking back down into the open book. Then she starts reading, but why with this face, please? There is much to know before one uses magic, and it all begins with death. Whose death, exactly? I take a deep breath, and my ears stand up attentively. That is a bird. That is I have no idea what. Is it smog and it's bleeding? What's happening? From the moment of birth, sentient bodies accumulate toxins, energy, and resources. Upon death, these bodies begin to rot and break down, returning these compounds to the environment. It's hard to believe, but in the state of decomposition, new life is abundant in the absence of an old one. I immediately deflate. What? My silence must have been deafening because Dove snaps her head back up at my reaction. In spite of my ability to truly be expressive with my canine features, I must have created quite the emotional response because Dove turns completely flustered. A deep scarlet burns her cheeks, its heat crawling up to her forehead. She awkwardly looks down and starts fidgeting with her fingers. Wait, her brows quickly pinch together. I start to think that she might actually be embarrassed. My jaw drops slightly in disbelief. I watch her swallow a lump in her throat. Oh, I realized that was probably difficult to understand. I forget to breathe when Dove looks at me once again, with fingers tightly intertwined and round eyes. You're really listening. Yes? Wait, what were you expecting? Dove looks at me in complete astonishment and I am at a complete loss in how to react. Dove runs a hand through her messy hair and recollects herself. She returns to the book in front of her, starting from the beginning again. There is a certain type of energy that is created in the process of decay. That energy is magic itself. Existing in the plane between life and death. Okay. This plane is also known as the ether. No living being can ever see it. It's an inevitable occurrence. That is guaranteed in the circle of life. It's cruel but necessary. Because when death blooms, new life persists. Dove tilts her head and flips through the pages of the book. Of course, I'm only summarizing the complexities. It's not as simple in practice, because magic is not something that can be contained by any laws we've observed in nature. At least the ones we know. In fact, magic is no different than a species you're probably familiar with. Mushrooms! You lost me, lady. That's why you're keeping Mushroom Lady around, because she's like magic. How is magic the same as mushrooms? I cock my head in confusion and look at Dove, expecting her to elaborate on her explanation. Yes, please? She leans over the witch Bible, balancing on one arm and holding up her pointer finger. Let me explain. Mushrooms are the only things in nature that do not follow a logical system. Normally, creatures with bright colors always serve as a warning sign to stay away. Through evolution, both flora and fauna have developed characteristics that allow them to survive long enough to pass down that trait. But with mushrooms, none of that applies. Bright or dull, big or clustered, you can't tell if a mushroom will kill you based on looks alone. You can't tell if a mushroom will kill you based on looks alone. Yeah, you just said that. The only way to find out is to eat it. Dove makes mushrooms sound like old gods. But back to the topic at hand. Ew! Is your wish? And an apple! Dove flips to a new page, and I pause at the sight of scratchy doodles that make the words on the page illegible. Definitely Dove's handiwork. Magic can be unpredictable and unstable. By this logic, areas with little death hold little magic. Likewise, places with an abundance of death hold an abundance of magic. That's why you're killing dogs? Places like cemeteries. I nod in understanding as Dove continues. Is the reason ghosts love to linger around there so much? Dove crosses her legs and rests her head in her palm. She hasn't been turning the pages of the book, yet she explains everything in perfect detail. Just how many times has she read this book? I've been told that witches become empowered by corpses buried deep beneath their feet, and with that power comes tragic silence. Dove's expression becomes solemn. But in that silence, there is also an earnest level of respect from those who have passed away. She pauses for a moment and starts turning the pages again. When she finds the page she wants, the corners of her lips perk up. Or a satisfactory feast. My ear twitches. However, there are two exceptions to this. In spaces void of death, magic is completely unusable. Most witches usually avoid them like the plague. When the shimmer of magic runs through your veins as naturally as breathing, being there feels like gravity has amplified tenfold. It may be the closest thing to feeling human for a witch. On the contrary, a space plagued with too much death becomes dangerous for everything in it. Without caution, the magic can overflow and seep through the cracks between planes, corrupting everything it touches. And this is where the witches come in. Dove turns to a new page. The spread before me makes the fur along my spine stand up. Ooh! Demons and bebe. And more demons? And more bebes? I'm greeted with an illustration of demons holding what appears to be babies. Yes. Are they human? Or perhaps they are? Something in my brain clicks. I know this part. The concept of witchlings receiving the devil's blessing at birth to become full-fledged witches. Witchlings, what a word. My grandma knows how to obtain this blessing, but refused to tell me no matter how much I asked. It's a miracle I even know this much from what little she told me. Was she a witch? Dove pauses to stare at the illustration. I nod my nose in her direction as encouragement to continue. Every witch begins with the devil's blessing. Once they receive the blessing, they are bound to hell. Dove gets lost in thought for a moment and combs her fingers through her hair. Did you know that witches have 3 commandments? I blink. Of course it's 3. 1. No God before the devils. Okay? 2. Thou shalt honor the devil's gift. Okay? And 3. Magic shall never be used without the devil's permission. Okay, so you are a warlock? Dove frowns as she states the last commandment. Oh, the devil is the guy with the skull? She didn't mention how witches receive the blessing. I whine in disappointment. Dove seems to completely misunderstand my reaction. Are you scared? Don't worry, demons won't be making deals with a little puppy like you. I snort in annoyance. The relationship between demons and witches is symbiotic. Because witches can access the ether, they can utilize magic. The more magic they use, the more power is imbued in hell. The demons who reside in hell can extract that power and use it to create the chaos they love so much. I let out an involuntary shiver. I can't help the anxiety that rises from the knowledge of using magic to provide enrichment for beings that love nothing more than trouble. However, witches don't just exist for demons to live vicariously through them. They have the responsibility of keeping magic levels in balance. That's so boring to talk about, though. The most important thing in this book are these. Yes, science stuff. Dove shows me a page filled with magic circles. Using magic is a little different from fairy tales. You can't just conjure something from nothing with a swish of your hand. Not without a couple of steps at least. Magic it's far more similar to... Dove taps her index finger on her chin. Oh, it's like baking! I feel my brows pinch in confusion. Magic is like making cake? Well, you see, baking requires perfect measurements. Dove flips through the witch Bible until she lands on her desired page. She then lifts the book and presents it to me. Strange symbols greet my eyes. Each one of these symbols represents elements. These are your ingredients. She turns to a new page filled with various illustrations of circles. In order to use magic, you need to gather the right elements and place them within a circle that looks just like this one. Every space within the circle is like a number. This is why magic is like baking. The ingredients and measurements must be exact. A single miscalculation could be the difference between enhancing a rose and killing it. One more thing. For every spell in this book, there is a secret ingredient. That puppies. Dove slides a page between her middle and ring finger until the paper meets the webbed skin of her hand. Without even flinching, she pulls her hand across the paper. I immediately cringe away, like I could feel the stinging sensation of paper slicing into her sensitive skin firsthand. Dove holds her hand up and pinches the flesh around the paper cut, pushing out beads of scarlet. She sets the witch Bible flat on the floor again and hovers her hand over the drawings of circles. More blood runs from the cut and forms a crimson droplet that hangs from the tip of her finger. Okay. It feels like minutes go by before the droplet finally falls from her hand, staining the paper below. Ooh. The sound of blood dripping onto the page echoes in my ears like a ticking clock. I focus on the way the blood splatters on impact right in the middle of a circle and runs down the curve of the paper until it fully soaks into the parchment. If you've made your spell correctly, all you need is a little witch blood to make it transform before your very eyes into art. I told you you were a witch. I knew it. I knew it from the start. But I still love you. Dove curls her hand into a fist. Witchlings may not have a demon's blessing, but we are surely not human. Oh, you are just a witchling. We come from fire and brimstone, after all. Magic belongs in our veins. Just because we are not connected to the ether doesn't mean it isn't there, just waiting for our call. Dove leans over the bloody drawings with hunger in her eyes. Her hair falls like a curtain of bramble around the witch Bible. The sight makes me think of putrid veins that spread from an infection. One day, we won't need anyone's blessing to take what is ours. I tense up. She notices my stiffness and gives me a small smile. Are you intimidated by magic now? Don't worry, there is no need to go through something as advanced as creating your own spells. That's what the Witch Bible is for. It contains all the spells you could ever need. Dove trails off. It looks like she has more to say, but she hesitates to express her thoughts. I rest my head on my paws as the silence stretches. Dove's expression sours before speaking again. I want more, though. My head lifts. These spells aren't enough for me. She narrows her eyes at the Witch Bible and smooths the parchment with her hand before crumpling it into her fist. I blink in surprise. Witches are brave enough to walk the earth as hosts for parasitic demons in hell, and yet... Dove looks down at her own palm, her gaze lingering on her wound, blood now clotted. She starts raising her voice and I flinch in response. And yet they bind themselves to so many rules. They can use magic. They are the only ones that can use magic. All the possibilities in the palm of their hands. But what's this? Dove throws the book open, showing the words carved on the inside of the back cover. Do not use magic on people. Do not waste magic with minuscule pursuits. Always keep magic levels balanced. Never take too much. Oh, hi, you're not happy, I presume? Her face contorts in frustration with every line she reads. They smother themselves. They make themselves so small. They do not pursue progress. There's only tradition this and tradition that. It drives me mad. Dove suddenly grabs the Witch Bible and violently throws it. I jump out of the way as it bashes into a wall. A flurry of papers erupts when it slams onto the desk beneath it. Dove stands, huffing out short breaths and clenching her fist as pages flutter down around her like snowfall. The sight haunts me. It's like seeing a glimpse of a dove free from the walls that contain her. Everything you want to know about magic is written in the Bible. But I want more. As I watch the papers flutter to the ground, I notice something written on all of them. Alchemical compositions sketched with impatient scrolls litter every page I see. The symbols and circles look nothing like what I had seen in the Witch Bible. Dove mutters something to herself. I'm not afraid like they are. The temperature around me drops. I almost accept my breath to cloud my face when I exhale. Just what is Dove trying to create? Dove drifts back to the desk, but she doesn't sit back down. She just stands there instead, completely lost in thought. I look around the room, feeling awkward in the silence. Eager to not sit in it for a second longer, I stand and get ready to wander off. I turn back and give Dove one last glance before trotting away. I wander around the library, observing the piles of dusty books on the floor and the worn spines that crowd the shelves. One book in particular captures my attention. I take nimble steps closer to inspect a strange object hugging a book on a bottom shelf. It resembles a spider with long and bony appendages that stretch around the cover. Something about it fills me with unease, because it's a spider! I start to back away when out of nowhere I'm thrown onto the floor and air is knocked out of my lungs. I let out a yelp, quickly realizing that was a mistake. Something wraps tightly around me, constricting my movement and making it difficult to breathe. It's a spider! The more I struggle, the tighter the grip becomes. My eyes begin to sting as I catch a glance of the strange book I saw earlier. The cover is now bare. The spider-like object that had wrapped around its spine is now brushing me with its limbs. Footsteps rapidly reach my ears and I see a dove appearing around the corner of a bookshelf. I could see the look of surprised edge on her face. A strange reaction to seeing me get crushed to death. I thought he got rid of that. She finally shows panic when I let out a panicked bark. Dove rushes over and drops to her knees. I can feel her bony hand trying to dig under the spider's legs, but it digs into my flesh in the process. She pulls her hands back and bites her lips. I then feel her grabbing me again and hauling me into the air. Just hold on, I can fix this. Her confidence is betrayed by her wavering voice. Is this it for me? It's a miracle I even made it this far at least. My breathing quickens. No, I don't want to die like this. I thrash my body in Dove's arms, fighting back against the constricting creature. What up? I can feel my vision turning fuzzy as a dove bursts into a room I've never been in before. Oh my god! Why do you have... okay, I totally understand why do you have this altar. Considering the lecture you just gave me about witches and demons, but also... What the fuck? I love the skulls, by the way. I love them. She slips on something that sounds like paper, sending us both tumbling onto the floor. I let out a weak cry while Dove lands hard on her hands and knees. The spider continues to tighten its grip. But you know, at least, if it would be an actual spider, it would have already have bitten you. And you know, well, I don't know if all the spiders, but you know, most of the spiders just put this fluid into you that melts you from the inside, and they just put a little straw in you and just sip you like a cocktail, yeah? So at least that didn't happen yet. Don't waste our time running over to a shelf to refill through bottles and drawers for something. When she finally finds what she is looking for, she quickly reads a tag attached to it and hurries back to me. I see her uncork a bottle with a swirling purple liquid before pouring its contents onto me. I feel a searing heat drip onto my skin as the spider screeches. I howl in agony when some of the liquid drips onto me and Dove releases a gasp. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get it on you. I whimper to cope with the pain. The only relief I can feel is the loss of suffocating pressure around me. Dove moves away to retrieve a cloth and clumsily dabs at the stray purple fluids that had gotten onto my fur, making them sting even more. When she leaves my sight again, I look to my side and see the spider-looking object curl into itself and unmoving. Dove stops for a moment, stumbling in the process, and gives it her attention as well. I'm not sure how I expected her to feel over the aggressive little creature that almost killed me, but the face she makes catches me off guard. She looks like she is in mourning. Mourning? I don't know. Dove nudges the spider with her foot. I hold my breath in fear that it will spring back to life and make a second attempt to take my life. What a shame. My head perks up. That was my first successful spell. That spider thingy! My blood runs cold. What does she mean? You've seen quite a few of my spells by now. Those were your doings? I mean, that was my initial thought, you know? But still, I just thought these were people you tried to... these are people? Are these people you tried to bring back to life? Or these are just, random creations of yours? Sorry. So, sorry, I'm still sick, okay? Dove looks down at her hand and starts counting fingers. The rose bush, the viper cage, the book spine. The sound of something tapping against glass makes me snap my head around. Up on the shelf, I spot what seems to be the source of the noise. Okay, so you weren't creating the ghosts. That's fine. Crimson cloaked moths thrash around in a jar. Dove also looks up at them. Ah, those are mine as well. Cute, aren't they? I gave them the raw meat you didn't want to eat, so they are probably hungry again. She gives me a small smile and nausea ripples through me. These things are a success to her? I mean, why aren't they? Excuse me, could you do better than a cage that can turn into snakes? I mean, come on, that's fucking neat. She created these horrific creatures? That shouldn't even be possible. Dove can't use magic. Can she? She literally admitted to you that she's a witch? Come on, puppy, catch up. No, I doubt it. You know she can. I feel my mind racing. If she was not the one who created them, then who did? I heard Dove fuss around the room once again, and I take in my surroundings. It appears to be some kind of study or lab. Shelves and cabinets line the walls, filled with jars and bottles. The air is thick with the strong smell of herbs, fresh and stale all at once. It's almost overwhelming. When I look to the very back of the dark room, I let out a yelp. Light pours in from a small window and disturbingly outlines an arrangement of skulls around the dark frame. It looks like a mirror, but the surface of the glass is dull and doesn't reflect anything very well. The eye sockets of the animal skulls are shrouded in shadow, but they give me the creeping sensation of being observed. A familiar feeling I brush off with a full body shake. It's a witch's shrine. Dove's voice frightens me out of my thoughts. She kneels beside me, looking conflicted. In her hand is a small jar, which, with a twist of her wrist, she unscrews the lid, revealing a pale green paste inside. This will help your burns. I cover away from her touch as she tries to reach for me. I crash into something hard as I hide underneath the nearest table. Dove retracts her hand and presses it into her lap. I stare at her with wide eyes and crouch close to the ground, sheltered by the shadows. She opens her mouth to say something, but her words got stuck in her throat when her eyes catch on something behind me. She squints briefly before widening her eyes with recognition. She shoots forward. I yelp and scatter away to avoid her. While my body is pressed against the wall, I look to see if Dove has followed me. I get her in my sight, but her focus isn't on me at all. In fact, the mysterious thing under the table has her completely distracted. It scrapes against the floor as she drags it out. A box. It's beautiful. Rose and thorn motifs decorate the smooth dark root. Dove regards it open-mouthed, then snaps the chest open so abruptly that it tips back slightly. She slowly pulls something out of the box. I take a small step closer to see it more clearly. In her hand is a small, bloody pouch. Sure, it is a bloody pouch. What else would it be? I read a single word on a label attached to it. Babel. Oh, it belongs to the fungus girl person thingy. I feel a chill crawl up my spine. What is that? I swallow heavily as I begin to imagine the worst. It couldn't be. I pad up to the box and shrink back when I see the contents that lay in its red velvet lining. Bile rises in my throat at the sight of human remains. My eyes dart between the objects in the box. A clutch of dark hair tied together with a ribbon, a small bone, and another bloody pouch, all with paper tags attached to them. I don't need to read the rest of the labels to know what's written on them. Names. The names of all the ghosts that haunt this home. Except for one. Dove still holds Babel's pouch in her hands. A blank expression paints her face, but with closer inspection I can see a faint tremble in her hands. She quickly tosses the pouch back into the chest and slams it to a close. She slides it back under the table, then stands up and makes her way out of the study. I stand there frozen, briefly forgetting how to move my feet. Eventually, I trail out behind her. Reluctantly so, because I don't know what else there is to do. When I step out into the hall, Dove is nowhere to be seen. I look around, searching for a sign of where she might be. Everywhere I look offers no hint. I whine, then I start navigating through the confusing hallways as best as I can from memory. Eventually, I find Dove's bedroom. Dove is not here. I find myself feeling relieved and troubled. I walk over to the spot I slept the night before, drop down and listen to the noise of the house until I fall asleep. It's dark when I wake up again. I look around. I don't see nor hear a sign of Dove. A knot in my stomach forces me to get up. Being unaware of Dove's whereabouts fills me with anxiety. Being near her makes me feel like the horrors are with me instead of against me. I return to the labyrinth of hallways. I walk around, keeping all my senses alert. I start to reconsider my decision to walk around the mansion at night again, especially alone. Evening seems to be the time when she likes to walk around. As if I had spoken her into existence, a wet drag comes from behind me. I freeze in my tracks. There is a familiar tapping sound nearby. I see the hidden door leading to the roof next to me. I don't bother looking behind me and head straight for the door. I go straight up the stairs and to the roof. Oh, wowie! Unlike the last time I was here, a clear night sky spans high above me. Stars dot the dark, and for a moment I forget about all the things I was scared of. Every time I see the night sky, I feel so small under its grandeur. When Dove spoke about magic earlier, I was frightened by how much it revolved around death. Before learning about it, I had always thought magic felt like this. Like it was art that could capture the spark of small joys. I rebelliously steal more time to admire the stars, and breathe in deeply, slowly. For even just a second, I want to remember how to sit still and get lost in everything I'm feeling. I want to gulp down the humid summer air, feel the gentle night breeze brush against my fur, smell the sap from the trees, listen to the crickets ringing in my ears, and memorize the placement of every star I can see. Every blissful and uncomfortable sensation, I let it all sink into me. They all remind me that I'm still alive. And I hold on to that so tightly. Because I'm so afraid of what I will become if I no longer see goodness when it's in front of me. The longer I stare at the sky, however, I squint. The stars seem so close. Something pulls me back to reality. I hear a voice. I turn my head and see a faint light. It's coming from the greenhouse. Hello? Foul little thing, don't you think, Babel? Ew. These ugly things keep consuming everything like a vengeful spirit. I will never see what's so interesting about something so boring like weeds. Flowers are pretty, but their beauty is so fleeting. I tried to make these ones last longer, but they still end up dying when they are cut from their bush. Yeah, because that's how plants work. I I enter the greenhouse quietly. Dove stands by the giant rose bushes with a lantern at her feet. Meanwhile, Babel busies itself nearby with a watering can. Is this where she's been all day? Dove hasn't noticed me yet. She takes a peek at Babel and makes a downcast face before looking back at her roses. Babel, do you remember when you let me plant seeds to grow tomatoes? Dove prods at a rose bulb and pulls her hand back before it can sink its teeth into her flesh. No matter what I did or how much you helped me, I couldn't even get it to bud. Babel gives no response. It quietly sets its watering can down and starts meticulously weeding the flower beds. You still put in so much effort to take care of these silly plants. I don't understand why. I spent so many hours in here just watching you, yet I can't even name anything. If I told you to let everything die, would you finally rest? Do you even know how to do anything else anymore? Dove moves to face Baba. You should have just left these stupid mushrooms alone. Oh, his stupid mushrooms alone. Then you wouldn't be stuck in this cursed state. Baba straightens up, then holds out a bundle of flowers in front of Dove. I'm telling you they are family. Now that I have the chance to look, I notice that there is actually a variety of flowers in this greenhouse. Roses, daffodils, lilacs. Something that looks like lilacs but with different shaped petals? It definitely isn't lilac, but it blooms do sprout in an interesting way. Perhaps I could find out what it is later. My grandma didn't like teaching me about magic, but she was always willing to entertain my botanical curiosities. You have many curiosities, puppy. The ones Babel offers to Dove are bleeding hearts, scientifically known as Dicentra spectabilis. Isn't the name of the game. I've always been fascinated by them because of their unique shapes, their arching stems and their hanging blooms that are shaped just like hearts. My grandma explained one of the things they symbolized. Unconditional love. Oh! Their meaning filled me with warmth when I heard it for the first time. I immediately wanted to learn more about it, so I did my own research on it and read through one of her books on the language of flowers. I learned bleeding hearts also represented something else. Heartbreak. I'm sorry. Also, those are two very, opposing meanings. Dove stands so still that I think she's somehow turned into a statue. On the surface, Dove is calm and collected, but behind her gentle visage lives a merciless beast harboring in the trenches of her emotions. Really? Dove shoots her hand out to smack the flowers out of Baba's tendril grip, letting them fall at her feet. Baba bends down and delicately picks up each stem again. Dove's cheeks grow splotchy with red and she holds her dress in tight fists. Can't you just be here with me? I hear her voice crack. Dove pinches her eyes closed. Or have you already been gone for a long time? I can't watch this any longer. The dead are never meant to stay longer than they are supposed to, despite some of their efforts in doing so, and despite the effort of those that are not ready for them to depart. People never realize until they've lost someone forever. But the dead will immortalize themselves in your thoughts, whether you want them to or not. The emptiness they leave behind tends to grow into a mold you can never ignore. Body, soul, those can be gone, but memories, those cannot be killed. I twist around and take off, knowing what needs to be done. I hear Dove make a small noise behind me. My retreat must have tipped her off to my presence. No! Don't! Don't what? Don't what? What am I doing? Her distressed scream almost makes me stop dead in my tracks. but I carry onward. What are we doing? I race into the study and skid to a halt in front of the box under the table. What are we doing? I hear the thud of footsteps running after me. Okay, I don't know what are we doing, but we're saving, that's for sure. Using my pose, I blow and shove at the chest until it falls over and the lid pops open, spilling the contents out. What, you're gonna eat them or what? I quickly scan through the pieces of paper attached to the remains. When I spot Bubbles' pouch, I grab it with my mouth and turn to sprint for the door. Dove stands there out of breath, clutching onto the doorframe. She glares at me and walks forward. Bad dog, drop it! I clench my jaw tighter and stand my ground. You have to let them be free. I try to plead to her with my eyes. Dove takes a step forward and I take a step back. She holds her hand out towards me. Give it back. I need it. I bite her. Why not? Dove lets out a blood-curdling scream when I tear my teeth into her arm. Red blossoms through the sleeves of her white gown and blood drips down her arm and onto the floor. She pulls back, clutching the wound. My ears droop at the sight of the dark drips that cascade down her colorless cheeks. Dove's face darkens and her jaw tightens. She furiously wipes the tears from her face and turns away from me. I stare at Dove's hand, but something behind her catches my eye instantly. Dove twists her head around. We both see Bubble lumbering through the hole, holding an arrangement of flowers. I can see her bleeding arm get shoved the back of her mind as it falls limp at her side. She starts chasing after the ghost, and I'm hot on her heels behind her. But did she get the pouch? The two of us step out into the hallway and trail after Bubble. Bubble takes its time moving around the manor. It stops at every empty vase on a table and places a fresh flower in each one, slipping into rooms and adding pops of color to spaces devoid of it. Oh, my poor baby fungus! Dove and I observe it without saying a word. With every flowery addition, Baba brings brightness to even the darkest corners. When it finishes its rounds, it returns to the rooftop. Baba kneels before a cluster of violets and toggles a leaf side to side until it's pulled free from the soil. It then stands up and moves to a bench, wrapping one of its tendrils around a small knife in the process. It makes a small cut on the stem, then gently places it in a jar of water. I look up at Dove, who watches with lowered brows and narrowed eyes. I lift a paw and brush it against her skirt. She looks down at me from the corner of her eye. I take a deep breath. I face her and tip my nose up with Baba's belongings still in my mouth. Dove lowers her hand and I drop the pouch into it. I then look back up at her. Your friend works so hard to bring you peace. Don't you want to show it your appreciation? I'm not convinced that, they are not there anymore. Like, it's just a big bowl of fungus decorating the place with flowers. I don't know about that. Dove's breath hitches and her lip trembles. She stands up straight, dragging her feet towards the lantern she had placed near the rosebush. I follow Dove from behind. She slowly kneels before the fluttering flame encased in the glass. She calmly opens the lantern door and silently watches the flame with Baba's pouch on her lap. I can sense her mind racing behind her eyes, desperately trying to dig her nails into any excuse that will delay her next move. Her throat bobs, then she turns her head to look back at Baba. It hovers around jars of other propagating plants, none the wiser to what she's about to do. Dove faces the lantern again and squeezes her eyes closed. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, baby. When she opens them again, her face is collected. She carefully brings the pouch to the fire and holds the edge in it until it catches. The brightness of the flame reflects in her pale eyes. She places the burning pouch on the tiled floor, and we both watch the silk bag organically burn away, revealing the teeth inside it. They burn slowly, so slowly that I wonder if they will even be able to burn. Dove does not turn away to look back at Babel even once. Then finally, all that's left are ashes and tiny shards. My eyes widen as Dove scoops up the remains in her hands. She shows no sign of pain as the cinders singe her palm. She transfers it all to one hand, then takes a deep and shaky breath before crumbling the remains. Out of nowhere, I hear the faint sound of wind chimes. I look around wondering where the sound had come from and find nothing. Perhaps I had just imagined it. Dove pours the ashes onto the floor. I look behind her. Babel is gone. Yeah. You okay? The next few days after Babel's disappearance pass by uneventfully. By the third day, everything changes. I lay near Dove's feet in the library. I still have yet to find something that will help me leave this place. Maybe the only way to escape is to become a ghost myself. But I have a feeling my freedom wouldn't be guaranteed that way either. Dove sits at her desk, staring at notes in a daze. Her pencil has been completely still for a while now. Something slams. My heart stops. Dove's head snaps up. That sounded exactly like the front door from the day I came here. Oh, the guy came back. There is a door. There is a way out. And my arm is fully healed. I bolt up and shudder with anticipation. My tail wags excitedly. I grab Dove's skirt with my teeth, wanting to waste no time getting to the door. She crouches down and grabs my snout in her hand. Oh, you have to hide. I pull back and look at her confused. Why would I hide? This might be my only chance to go home. But when I see the panic in Dove's eyes, I start to wonder why the door has returned. Yeah, it's the guy. My gaze slowly shifts to the entrance of the library. Listen and hide, yes. The floorboards outside the library creak. Heavy footsteps echo, getting louder and louder. I stare at the door, paralyzed. What are you doing? Move! Dove shows me with her hands and I spring into action. Where should I hide? I don't know. The footsteps stop right outside the door. The desk behind the bookshelf. The desk. I don't know why, but the desk. I hurry under Dove's desk and lower myself to the floor as flat as I can. The door creaks open and someone walks in. I try to control my rapid breathing out of fear that it will betray my concealed position. I try to see what I can from under the desk, and the sight haunts me. Is the guy alright? That's it? That's all we get? A tall gentleman enters the library, still in his outerwear with a cane tucked under his arm. I watch as he approaches Dove. I see her casually step in front of the notes she has scattered on the desk. The man takes off his top hat and holds it against his hip. I feel like my heart jumps out of my chest when I see his eyes. Hi! Oh, there is the skull! It wasn't on your head. You're handsome though. Ew, and look at the hat. Oh, I really like you. I know you're supposed to be the bad guy, but I do like you. Dove resembles him a lot. They both have pale skin and inky black hair that spikes out like a lion's mane. You're his father? What sets them apart though are their eyes. Those eyes are blue of that word. Although in the previous shot that we just saw, when she burned Babel's remains, her eyes were also red, just saying. While his eyes, it's said that animals that are brightly colored because of their toxicity are mostly active at night. That seems fitting for this man because his eyes are the scarlet of a poisonous frog, a warning outlined by the dark markings that cover the hollow of his eyes. I've seen markings like that before. Every witch has them. I'm telling you. He opens his mouth to speak, then stops. I watch in horror as his eyes begin to rake through the room, searching for something, until finally they land on the desk right where I cower back further into the shadows. Have I chose a wrong hiding place? His poisonous eyes narrow. Looks like we have a little guest. Oh my god. Oh, it's a walking sticky thingy. I see his hand flinch. No! Oh, I'm so dead. It was so long ago when we saved. Am I dead? Huh? Flowers? When did we get to the greenhouse? Something digs into my side painfully. I look around and I think I'm lying in a bed of fungi. My ears flick when I hear Dove suck in a breath. Dove? Why do you look so sad? I try to move and my whole body erupts with pain. It hurts. My chest heaves rapidly with panicked whimpers. Liquid starts to fill up my lungs and crawls up my throat. Everything hurts. I'm sorry, I couldn't protect you either. Dove reaches her hand down and smooths her fingers over the top of my head. I think I'm dead. I cry out. Dove's lip trembles and she clenches her jaw. It hurts a lot, doesn't it? My eyes are scorching from dryness, but I hold on to Dove's gaze with all I have. Help me. Okay. Dove gently pats my face, then leans down and presses her lips over my brow. Her fingers press down on my eyelids, forcing me to squeeze my eyes shut. I will make all the pain go away. Thanks, I guess. My heart hammers in my chest. She grabs the sides of my head. Then... bad and free! Okay, so the game has 6 bad endings, 1 good ending, and 1 true ending. So now we are going to see. This is all the team, by the way. So now we are going to see what happens if we hide behind the bookshelf. So just a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we are here. I hid behind the bookshelf and everything was the same up until this point. So let's see what happens next. If it's gonna be another bad ending or the same ending that we just received, then we are going to leave the game here and I am going to come back to it another time, trying to find mainly the good ending and the true ending. If we survive, we are going to continue. When he speaks, I almost yelp in surprise. Where is Hypatia? I don't know. Spider? My nails curl. His voice. It was the one I had heard when I had first arrived here. But more importantly, the thing. Who is that? Is there still someone I have yet to meet in this house of curiosities? It unsettles me to think so. Oh, look at him! How handsome guy! I'm sure you are related. He's definitely your father. You can't lie to me. Around, I'm sure. My brows draw together. No hello? The man nods and turns to leave just as quickly as he came. But then he stops for a brief moment. He reaches into his coat and produces a small lantern with a glowing green flame. Here is everything that was on your list. Oh. He places the lantern on Dove's desk with a light tap. His eyes briefly catch on Dove's notes and I see her go stiff. You've been busy. It's nothing. Of course it is. The man steps away and makes his way to the door again. You should know better by now. He gives Dove one last glance. Why don't you find something better to do instead of wasting your time? Dove's eyes tweak, but her overall expression remains blank. She's not a true witch because she haven't received the blessing? I stare in disbelief as he leaves without another word. Once he's gone, Dove stands rooted to her spot. Okay, so we survived. It's good. Her face is blank and her eyes are unfocused. My ears twitch and follow the new noises in the house. Footsteps fade to another section of the mansion. I can hear the sound of a door clicking to a close. Duff finally moves again and picks up the handle of the lantern. She looks down at me right as I meekly come out of my hiding spot. Let's go, quietly. When we get to the kitchen, Duff places the small lantern on the table. Then she opens the glass and blows out the flame. Smoke begins to fill the room. It could be the kitchen, so it clouds the kitchen so quickly that I don't even have time to hold my breath. I expect a dry burn in my lungs, but instead the smell of battery cord tickles my nose. When the smoke clears, boxes, bags, and crates have appeared out of nowhere all over the table and floor. My eyes widen in awe and my tail starts wagging excitedly. I start sniffing at boxes and peeking into bags, while Dove starts digging through the crates. I sit and watch as she pulls out shiny new incandescent bulbs and sets them down on the kitchen table. She opens up everything before she starts sorting them. Out of one box, she pulls out a new dress and polished shoes. They are both pretty and frilly, but Dove gives them a sour look and shoves them back in their boxes before moving on to the next thing. I remember the witch had mentioned getting everything on a list, to which I assume was prepared by Dove. Is the new fashion not in her style? Or were they things she didn't ask for? I haven't seen Dove wear anything besides her sleepwear. She probably doesn't see the point in getting dressed, considering all her activities are forcefully indoor-based. In another box, she lights up at the sight of a new books. She fans the pages and takes a deep inhale. Her face lights up with glee as she basks in the new book smell. She gathers all of the food and sorts them into separate piles. One pile is for the cold cellar, the other for the pantry. She pulls something out of a paper bag and her mouth stretches into a big smile. She then looks down at me as I tilt my head in question. I will treat you to something tasty today. Duff flashes a quick glance at the hallway, then crouches down. Follow me and be light on your paws. Duff starts down the hallway, balancing on the balls of her feet with practiced ease. I feel uneasy about this new need to sneak around the house. I've been here long enough to the point where I'm almost used to the monsters that live here, but now I'm learning that these monsters have something to be wary of. When we enter the greenhouse, Dove stops at the entrance. I look back at her in confusion. Her eyes stare blankly. I can see her pupils move around the room in search of something. Her behavior sets me on edge. I turn around to see if there is someone or something here in the greenhouse besides us. There is no one. Nothing. I glance back at Dove. A line forms between her brows before she continues making her way in. She passes by me and silently heads for the violets. Once they are right in front of her, she bends down, reaching for them, because she misses Baba, right? I bark in surprise when she starts ripping them all out. This is probably the last time I will get to eat this. We should appreciate Baba's hard work, right? My ears go flat. I stare at the uprooted flowers that had obviously been raised with so much care. Everything here is most likely going to rot away. Dove doesn't seem very interested in plants. I can't really picture her spending every day here pulling out weeds, knowing how much water every plant needs, or even knowing what fertilizer is. I think she would much rather draw the same statue 1,000 times. It feels like such a shame. Once Dove has picked out all the violets, leaving the soil bare, she stands and gets ready to head back. I try to memorize the site of the vibrant garden as much as I can before I'm forced to catch up to Dove. Dove pauses awkwardly again when we enter the hallway. I freeze up. This time I really think there is something dangerous up ahead. I cautiously peer around Dove's legs. Once again, there is nothing. I snap my head up at Dove. Is she messing with me? Dove continues moving like nothing happened and I slowly trail behind her. As we continue walking, we pass by a small window. I notice a familiar glass holding up glass holding a small bundle of roses. Its petals already dried up and flaking. Ew, my mouth goes dry. We arrive back in the kitchen. Dove starts gathering ingredients and ripping the violet petals from their stems. Meanwhile, a pot of water heating over a fire in her hearth starts to bubble. When steam starts to rise from the pot, Dove places the petals in a stoneware pot and adds the boiling water. She places a cover over the pot to let the petals steep, then starts to organize and put away all the new supplies. I watch curiously from the floor. I've never eaten flowers before. Dove completes every step with practiced precision. By the time she's finished cleaning up, the violets are ready to be infused with the other ingredients. Dove keeps herself occupied by combining everything. Eventually, she pours the finished product into glass jars. Dove seals 4 jars of violet jelly to be stored away, leaving 1 jar that's only partially filled. I lick my lips and admire the pretty color the violets had made. She grabs a spoon and pops it in the jar, taking it with her as she makes her way to a small package wrapped in twine and paper sitting near the window. We are done here now. Dove sets the jar of violet jelly down on the window seat and unravels the package she had brought. A new quilt unfolds in her hands. She spreads it out on the floor near my water bowl. She settles into the window seat and I wait a moment before I step onto the blanket. I take a second to savor the softness under my paws before laying down comfortably. Dove scoops up some of the violet jelly and holds the spoon in front of my face. Here, I will give you the first bite. Thank you! I give the jelly a sniff, then test it with a small lick. It has such a sweet and floral taste. I lick up the rest greedily. Dove takes the spoon back and stares at the jar of purple jelly. As the sky fades to an all-consuming darkness, I gaze at the sheet of stars one last time before I curl into a ball. I can hear the soft crackles coming from the candle that Dove lit earlier. The sound soothes me, and soon enough my eyelids start to feel heavy. I rest my head on my paws and curl my tail around me. I hear Dove's spoon scrape into the glass jar. Then the sound of someone sniffling. Oh wait, What? Ah, we missed this! Dove's sound! Oh, somehow I skipped it. But, as we are about halfway through the game, we are going to leave this here. If I'm correct, the game consists of 4 episodes and we just finished the second one. So, we are going to continue from here in the next video. Thank you all for watching this far. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it wasn't what I expected, but it's good. I'm really enjoying it. If you did as well, please don't forget to let YouTube know about it by liking, subscribing, leaving a comment. But no one likes outros, so bye-bye!